If you're thinking about raising quail, or maybe you've started and you need to process some birds, but you just are struggling through it, today's video is just for you. I'm going to walk through some of the things that you need to think about to help make the process a little bit easier and give you a little more confidence moving forward. Processing birds that you've raised can often be a little difficult, and I have been there. When we first started raising chickens, and I mean meat chickens, so I knew from the very beginning that these birds were going to have to be processed, I really struggled knowing whether or not I could have the confidence and just the mental ability to process the birds. One of the things that really helped me was first to do it with someone else. So helping someone else process their meat chickens several weeks before we needed to do our own really gave us the confidence that we needed to get through the process. And once we had done it that time, and then we did it on our own at our own homestead, we were certain that we could do it again and we could teach other people about it. Often we have people who are buying quail who really just want to raise them for eggs because they say, I can never process a bird. Well, knowing that up front is a good thing, but sometimes you might really surprise yourself. In today's video, I'm just going to walk through some of the things to think about and to do in preparation for processing your birds, and maybe give you a solution if you just absolutely cannot do it. Hey friends, if you're new here and we've not met, my name's Hope. My husband and I are empty nesters who've been homesteading for several years, and we have done chickens, meat chickens, pigs, and well, we're empty nesters. It's just the two of us, and we're looking at scaling our homestead in a way that is going to grow with us. So it means we're kind of stepping away from the bigger animals, and we were looking for something that is smaller, and we fell in love with Coturnix quail. This is a jumbo red pansy Coturnix, and they are great birds for dual purpose, both meat and eggs. But one of the things that you need to do is keep your ratios correct. This is a female, and she is going to do well if she is in a breeding bundle of either 4 to 5 hens to 1 rooster. So this hatch just reached maturity and just started laying eggs yesterday, and I want to make sure that I have them set up for the best situation and the best breeding situation. And turns out I had a few too many roosters in this hatch. So I thought that while I was processing them today, I'd share some thoughts with you that might help you do the same thing. I want to keep this video straightforward and respectful, but I also want you to know that if you're struggling with the idea of processing quail, well, you're not alone. Everyone who's done it before you has been in the same position. So the more you know before you start, the easier the process will be. So first of all, let's just prepare ourselves mentally. If this is the first time you've processed quail, then first of all, it helps to watch some videos to kind of give you an idea of what to expect. It's not a silent process. It's also not noisy. There's a little flailing. Usually there are feathers fluffing around a little bit, and there will be some blood, but it's not an exorbitant amount. And if it's your first time, don't try to process 20 quail at once. Just do a couple, maybe 1 or 2, just to kind of get comfortable with the idea and be able to stop if you need to. Another thing to remember is that this is a skill. It's not a personality trait, and processing a bird does not mean that you are not a caring person. And let's talk a little bit about mindset. Now, part of the reason that many of us are raising quail is for meat and eggs, and we are wanting to take control of where our food comes from. This is really a source of empowerment. having the skill, having the ability, and the control for raising your own animals that are going to end up on your table is simply being responsible, which is so empowering. And also, when you have sort of a relationship with the meat that is on your plate or the eggs that are on your plate, you really do approach what you're eating very differently than you would chicken nuggets from some fast food restaurant. You appreciate the sacrifice, and it is very precious. It also helps to know that you've given these animals a good life. Clean food, clean water, a healthy environment, and remember that once they've been processed, they've only had one bad day in their whole life. As I mentioned before, culling the excess roosters is an act of being responsible. If you do not cull the extra roosters, and there are too many in a group of quail, the hens are going to be abused, they're going to be overworked, and the roosters are going to be abusive toward each other and often toward the hens. You're going to end up with plucked feathers and often bloody heads, and it is not a pretty sight. So you really are caring for them by setting them up in the best environment. So let's talk about equipment and supplies. Unlike processing meat chickens, processing quail is so much simpler with far fewer supplies. With chickens, we needed to pull out pop-up tents, we needed cones for dispatching, we needed a scalder, we needed a plucker, we needed tabletops and multiple knives, coolers. It was a whole production. We usually ended up recruiting our kids and their friends and anybody who wanted to learn, but it was a full day's work. Today, I can take 10 quail and process them in a matter of about 30 minutes, and it is so much less stressful and way less exhausting. The most important things that I make sure that I have with me is, first of all, a pair of sharp scissors. The scissors that I use are a pair of Husk that are available on Amazon. My son actually bought these for me as a pair of kitchen shears for Christmas, not really knowing that I would end up using them for quail, but they have been perfect. And I highly recommend them, and I'm going to link them in the description of this video because they are well worth the money and they're not expensive. Having a sharp pair of scissors allows for a clean, quick cut, which makes the act of dispatching a quail so much easier because the quail never sees it coming. The other two things that I have on hand are two small 2-gallon buckets. One for dispatching the quail in and holding the discards from the process. The second is a cleaner bucket, and it holds the birds as they are sort of in the semi-clean state. I'm going to go back later and clean them further inside, but this is where I hold them in the middle of the process. Then it's also helpful to have a hand towel or two, preferably one that's wet, to just kind of wipe your hands in the middle of the process. It's basically all that you need. If you would like to see a video that shows a little more close-up and step-by-step of how to process, I will link that one at the end of this video. It might help to know that that was the first time that I ever did it completely alone. If I can do this, you can too. Once the quail are processed, I take them inside, rinse them off just a little bit more, make sure I get off any extra feathers, and place them on a piece of parchment paper to dry for a little bit, and slip them into a Ziploc bag. Then I put them into the refrigerator and let them rest overnight. If I'm not going to cook them the next day, then I'll go ahead and put them into the freezer and mark them with the date. Now, what to do if you just absolutely cannot bring yourself to process the quail that you've raised? Well, first, be responsible and don't leave the extra roosters in with all the rest of your quail, because like I said, you're going to end up with a mess of quail that are going to be abused, and it is not going to be a pretty situation. So look around, find someone, maybe another breeder who is comfortable with them, and just just surrender those roosters to them and let them take care of the process. Most breeders are going to understand where you're coming from and will either help you through it or take care of it for you. For those of you who are going to venture into processing your own quail, I congratulate you. Take it easy. Take it one step at a time. Breathe, and don't let the process stress you out. Always be willing to take a break if you need to, but in the end, it's going to be a skill that I believe you're going to be proud of. If this video has helped you out in any way, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. We'll catch you on the next one.